Hey, brother, how are you?
Yeah, well,
Let's jump in. One thing that is a really sensitive topic that a lot of people dance around, a lot of people will, let's call it the unspoken issues, unspoken rules. Written rules is the dynamic as a parent who is pushing their kids in sports that they've been identified in that they're doing well, whether that be at the young age, at the elementary level, middle school level, up to high school, college, possibly pros, right? There's this thing here today in the US, right? Whether it's soccer, football, baseball, you're talking all these sports, right? That encompasses everything, like basketball, even, right? They got these AAU things that people go playing, but what people don't talk about is what the dynamics of what a parent has to do, what a parent has to fight for behind the scenes, and what a parent has to do to push their child, right? To go in and do this. We're parents. And my experience that I'll share, with my kid that is now playing D1 soccer, one of the best players in the country, female, is a big journey. It's a bad journey, right? And one of the things that I would say is early on when the kids, my kid, whatever, are playing and they're doing it for fun. And they're just doing it, want to get them out to go exercise, right? But then when they start getting identified as someone, oh, they actually could play, want to play next level and go next level. That stuff happens, especially if they're really good, quickly, maybe mid-season or at the end of the season. There's usually 2 seasons a year. And what happens is the relationships you build with other parents, because, you build a camaraderie and whatnot, you get to grow with them in a sense. When you end up leaving a club because your child ends up hitting the top tier and stuff we've talked about before, like, hey, you got to continue to grow, especially if you become the best or elite, you keep going, people kind of turn their backs on you. And
hmm
the dynamic of that, that I would say from the levels, that we went through, from whether it's from rec level, elementary school, late elementary school, middle school, getting into the comp level, getting into the elite levels. You're talking, hey, let's go play the ECRL, ECNL. Let's go play at at these top academy levels and whatnot. It gets very ferocious and it gets very diabolical between the parents. And one of the things I'll share, with everyone listening in is we want to push our kids. We don't want to push our dreams on them on what maybe we didn't accomplish or not, because that's the worst thing to do. You'll get them to burn out. You'll get them to not want to play the sport. They'll lose the passion of love for why they began playing it to begin with, right? But the harder part too is, you as a parent, you want to be the one that pushes them to take it to the next level too. The dynamic of saying, hey, I want my child to have the best opportunity and option. And that's fair. But other parents take it to the next level. They'll go in and saying what we experienced. Okay, my kid did this back when they were in elementary school. Now it's middle school and you're playing at a top level club, not just for the middle school, but they're going to say, remember what my kid did 2 years ago? Guess what? I want you to remember that and give my kid a chance to let them play first. I'm like, if a coach allows that, club, public school or whatnot, you're not a good coach.
Right.
Why are
Right.
you letting them do it? Because you're a friend? You coach people during practice. You put the best players that earned it in practice into the game, and you keep the ones starting or playing the ones that deliver there. Not because, hey, you're my friend, I'm your friend, you're going to go with me. If you don't play right, I'm leaving this club. Those are threats that happen, especially that have 2, 3 kids and they say, hey, I'm friends with 5 people, we'll take it to a new club. Doesn't matter if it's basketball, baseball, football, soccer, it happens, right? And the amount of money spent, you're talking $500-600 a month just for the club fees. That doesn't include uniform, doesn't include travel. I mean, you pay this stuff for the stuff you're
No,
doing
no,
too.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's
I mean,
crazy.
it's exorbitant amount of funds resources that you put in just for your kid to play and maybe not even play, to be honest, on the game day. Like, so it's, man, I mean, I'm going through it right now. To be honest, kids are in, club and it's our third year and it's been frustrating 3 years, to be honest, and, I'm not trying to propel my kids and be like, they're better than people, certain people. It's hard to be biased because for me, because I'm a coach, right? I understand talent and it's like, oh, that kid is good. Like, I'm going to recognize game if I see it. And sometimes I'm like, "Oh, why is that person getting that much playing time when they didn't show up to practice for the last 2 days, but they're in game the whole game?" And then you have other kids who've been to practice every single day, and they barely see any playing time, which I get it. It's a competitive league, right? And it's more about winning. But at the same time, it's like you are rewarding these kids and the parents for not letting them come to the games or not letting them come to the practices, or they showed up late to the game and still was able to play. Like, wow. In our, I'm probably sure, you would agree. In our generation, that wouldn't even fly. If you came late to a game, you didn't play. Like, that's just, like, it was
You
your,
didn't suit up. You didn't suit up. Get out.
it's, yeah, yeah. Go ride the pine. Go ride the pine. That's the, like, that's just how it was when we were growing up. And it's a monetary thing, as sad as we want to not say. It is. It's what is, you know, who is the biggest donor? Who is the, one providing most of the free equipment or something like that? I don't know. I'm
Well, yes, it is true. It is true. It's a sham in the United States. I'll just straight up say it. If you go talking about soccer, for example, when men and women's soccer, why do you think people leave the North American area and go play in Europe? Because it's the best in the world, right? Champions League, etc. Right? Now, that's cool. But here in the US, they laugh at us here. Not saying they laugh because of the players, they laugh because of how we are getting ripped off with the monetary stuff. And granted, hey, if you and I today want to start a club, we give our credentials, it will coach up your kids, even though we never, are soccer pros or whatnot, but we show organization, we get them out there, but it's exercise. But
right.
then you could tell with the good coaches, which ones actually put in the work that will train each kid, not specific kids.
Yes.
And as you get older into different age groups or different levels of teams, again, any sport, it's not up to the coach to train the kid anymore, right? Because that should have been already a fundamental that was done early on. You know what I mean? Rec level, comp 2, 3, 4, gold, platinum, whatever, then ECNL, soccer or Champions League level, whatever. But here's the point. Parents also get psycho. I could tell you the story of, we went through, right? Like a daughter would hustle, bust everyone's butt in practice and earn the starting spot. But coaches would use her to say, oh, hey, to another player, like, oh, I'm going to play so-and-so instead of you if you're not doing this. I'm like, we didn't know about that until my daughter came home crying. Like, hey, no. And I'm like, you earned it and you're not playing you. They're using you against another one. And the reason for this club, this coach did it was because that person had 4 other friends on the team that they grew up with, aged up with. Now, I'm not opposed to if people earn it. Absolutely, you play over anyone, over my kid, whatever. But if you're just being given a chance because that coach or that club doesn't want to lose 4 paychecks from 4 kids, you're doing something wrong. Like, don't even bother. What are you doing again, Brad? Coaches also get special favors thrown at them. Daughter would come home crying. And you know what we tell them? In the next practice, put them on their ass. Let them not want to face you. And I'm not talking about aggression. I'm talking controlled, obsessed, play time and show them who is the one that's the boss out there, even if they're not playing you. You give people a reason not to take you off the field. And, right? But then the other part was, people talk smack. Other parents will huddle with other parents. It's politics and they'll do what they can to market their children as they should. I commend parents for doing this. It's up to the coaches in the club to evaluate players in any sports properly. Just because you and I go in and say, or if I go into you, hey, my kid is a badass martial arts person. They're going to put anyone on the ground. Trust me, don't even worry about it. I'm bringing in 3 other people so you could get $500 a month on it. Don't just trust me, okay, man? They'll play too, and you travel martial arts, going overseas to Asia. A good teacher is going to be like, what are you talking about?
Right.
You have to evaluate before you make that decision. Yes, you want to get the money. We want to get the money as coaches, as trainers. But the point is, do not tell a coach what to do as far as who to bring, who to play, to excel as your number 1 or number 2 or number 3, call it starters, whatever. And parents do that all the time. There's like the guilt trip. There's an extra money, as you alluded to. Hey, I'm going to donate. So money, my extra 10, 20 grand scholarship goes to the field. Okay. So you're going to go put someone in that didn't earn their starting spot. That's maybe average by the standards of other players in there. That's a liability because of money. Yeah, I think you see get away with it, but if it's throughout the whole year, that's messed up. That's messed up. And I know that emotionally it screws parents up too. It screws up the relationships with the club. And it screws up relationships from other parents to other parents who are observing what's happening behind the scenes and all this, this gossip. And then most importantly, it screws it with their kids. Because then the parent's going to start pushing the kid harder. Like, what are you doing? Why aren't you out there? In the end, it's not the kid's fault. If the kid, their child is doing their best and they're
Right.
training hard, you celebrate them. You don't blame them for it out on the field. And that's why, I wanted to share this with the people listening. It's like a lot of people don't want to open it up to if they have young children, young kids, because they don't want to ruin their chances because of how
Chances.
fearful they are already. It's fact.
Right.
It is
Right.
fact.
Yeah. I don't mind if my kid is sitting down because she, didn't earn it. Right. Or I just think that, sometimes when we look at, the team, it's like, are we actually putting the best players, the ones that play best together on the field, right? Or on the court or what have you? I mean, gosh, I remember growing up and always being able to go onto a basketball court and, outdoors and play like you five, us five. All right, let's go, and I don't really see that much anymore because everyone's in AAU and it's a constant like, how can I be really good? And it's crazy the amount of money people spend on like private coaches, right? Whether it be like a strength and conditioning coach, a sports specific coach, right? All these like little things to get your kid better, which it pays off, obviously, for a lot of kids. And there's definitely an industry and money involved. It's just when are we gonna say out loud that sports is now an elitist thing? It's literally a country club for kids. It's us trying to put them in good situations, opportunities because of the connections and the entry fee, right? To play, to conversate, to socialize with all these other folks who can afford to pay for these absorbent club fees, AU fees, travel. I mean, like this is travel alone, right? We got to go to I don't know, Canada in like the next 2 months. And that's not paid for by the club. That's paid for by the parents. And then like whoever wants to watch.
And is it necessary? Right. And then and here's the thing, it's think about it. Why would you or us pay that for the kids? Because it's FOMO. It's the club association of the network beyond the sport. It's also the parent to parent relationship. As you said, it's 100% accurate. The challenge, which no one is talking about, and what you may or may not have felt it yet, once your kid at the club level, we're not talking public school, high school, or anything like that, gets propped up to another team, an advanced team, because they've gone beyond the level, they're the best on the other team, and now is that relationship with you and the other parents behind. Now, if your relationships are strong, it can survive it.
Right.
Most of the time it doesn't. And the observation is those parents are also pissed off. Like, why didn't my kid go? They should have been up here, because of the constant battle, the politics, the conversations, the gossip, the trash talking that happens behind. It's absurd. You're talking little kids or children. You're talking to people who are not even adults yet. You're going to bash them to other coaches because you think your kid's going to be better at doing this. I've seen it. I've heard people come up to us saying that same thing when my daughter was, the best. And before we moved up and kept moving up. And now, she's D1 player now. And it's crazy. And it is an association. Don't get me wrong. It's just like life, right? You want to be associated. You want to network with the people because you're around, people that are successful. The saying is a little bit of that rubs off on you. In sports, you're not going to get faster. Doesn't mean you're going to shoot harder or shoot the ball better, but you get the chance to be looked at first.
Right.
Is that fair? I'd say yes and no, because chances you want a look. You want a chance to be able to showcase. Doesn't mean you're going to make the team. Doesn't mean you're going to get selected. But the point is, I applaud the parents that do a good job marketing their kids. I have nothing against that. What I do have against is the bribing. What I do have against is the degrading of children, or one parent telling their kid to go purposely trying to hurt another kid in practice, or to talk smack and get that mental health stuff going. Because we've seen it, we've heard it. And some kids don't have that aggression to fight back on the field. I'm not talking about fist fighting. I'm just talking to battle. Some do. Some want to quit mentally because I don't want to deal with this toxic culture. Trust me, it's there in all sports and it's across the board. Coaches are guilty of it too. They want to get, like I'm coming in, I'm hot shit. I'm going in here. I'm like, okay. But in the end, us set aside our emotions as parents, right? If we know that they're playing the best people, best players, and even if it's not our kid, we're okay with it. We're absolutely okay with it. But when they don't, you question everything.
Right. It's not talked bad about, an individual player, but it's one of those things where it's like, how does that kid get more playing time? Not as coordinated, can't hit the ball, can't really, provide as much value as my kid who's running all over the floor, grabbing every ball to make sure he stays in play. And you're wondering, what? I'm not sure the reasoning for it. Um, you're gonna obviously go like, well, maybe it's because my first thought, honestly, when this happened was it's because you're not advocating for yourself. I literally say like, you're not advocating for yourself. Like you're not making it a point to tell your coach or whoever, assistant coaches or what have you, that you are good, and you're showing it. If you're showing it, then, I would hope to think that the coach would say like, you know what? They're doing really good. I'm gonna put them in, or we're gonna put them in game time, or what have you. But that's not the case, I guess. And obviously, like I said, I like to internalize it and say, you need to take initiative and say, like, why am I not getting playing time or what have you? I don't ever want to come to me and say like, like your kid's in there because you went up to the coach and you said XYZ.
Yeah.
That's why your kid's getting playing time. I don't want to do that just because, one, I am a coach and I know how that is.
And you're a good coach.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's a little different for me sometimes because, with martial arts, it's like, look, man, when it comes down to it, it's safety. Are you actually ready to be in the cage or in the ring? If you're not, that's on me, because if you get like some kind of traumatic injury, that's on me.
Yeah.
That's on me. And then like, for volleyball, stuff like that, basketball, football, what have you, it's like, okay, you can play, you can play, you can play. You can watch for a little bit, like it's one of those things. It's like, look, but it's also another. I've done this when I was coaching, volleyball. Is like, you didn't show up for practice, you don't play the first set, right? You're late to the game. You are lucky if you get to play. You are lucky if you get to play. Like that's just not. It's not an option for me as a coach, because that doesn't show discipline in. It doesn't show discipline in the parent that didn't bring them there on time, and it didn't show discipline in the kid that wanted to show up. Because there's some times where like kids like, oh, mom, we gotta go, dad, we gotta go right now, but then the parent is
not
in a
taking it
meeting, yeah, and in a meeting or something like that, right? When you know that your game time's at 4:00 in the afternoon, right? But yeah, I mean, but then there's those kids that are just like walking into the gym and you're like, yo, how come you haven't even put your gym shoes on yet? Like, why is this even happening? Like, if you're late, you should be booking your butt to, warm up lines or what. Yeah, you should be sprinting. You should make it, you should have some sense of urgency. And if you don't, out.
And that's the thing, right? Like, you did that with what you're coaching, coach football and, coach parochial stuff. I mean, that's the one thing that made it clear in the beginning to the parents. And as they were shaking hands, putting envelopes that I decline or put it towards a program, I'm like, you got to be on it. You got to treat it as non-rec. This is competitive, right? I'm not here to waste my time. I do love this. I'm passionate about teaching the kids. Bottom line, right? It wasn't about money for me at the time, right? Again, my different mindset, different situation. But think about what, like you alluded to it earlier, right? Like there's a dynamic with transparency and integrity with coaches. Like there's this whole like black box of like coaching to where many coaches fail to explain why certain kids play and others don't. And parents feel slighted by that, right? And that this lack of transparency leads to parents feeling like, well, shit, I felt it before. I'm like, there's a silence if there's a favoritisms or politics at play. 100%. 100% that goes on. And then there's the, and the club teams, whatever sport, to pay to play mentality. There's a suspicion, like competitive travel sports, right? You're going in as they're often feeling that families who donate the most money
Mm,
and spend more time with the coach get preferred treatment and preferred truth in that. We never took advantage of, but we've seen it. This creates a toxic atmosphere, obviously, of perceived bribery, right? And then the apathy problem. Some coaches, bad coaches, treat youth sports as like paycheck, right? They're going in and say, "Oh, it's a power trip," showing little interest. And I've seen this, I still see it today, in the actual mentorship of that kid, whatever the age is. And this emotional checking out is more damaging to the people or the kid that's involved, who loves the game, is passionate about it. And then the coaches, then a coach is too hard on them. If you're not going to do it, if it's a paycheck, and that's how it is. I mean, even when there was tryouts and we went through this, like, "Oh, hey, this university's one here, they want you to go and try out. It's going to be $200, just as something to go through." I'm like, why? Like, you already see the tape. They wanted money. So we opted out of it. Like, no, I'm not going to pay that. They could, if they really wanted it, it's a money play. And a
right.
lot of it is like that in a lot of sports, as you said earlier. And to be honest, like, for me, in closing, right? Like, for the people listening, the parents, going through this, don't push your kids too hard as far as living your dreams through them. Support them. Don't worry about the other parents who are doing things. I credit everyone for supporting, promoting their kids, no matter what. Do the same thing, right? Don't go through and start bribing people because, at the top level clubs, in any sport, they play the best player. It's a bottom line, right? But again, motivation for the kids, the healthy one is people love for the craft. A destructive obsession, we talked about obsession before, is a fear of being average, falling behind, right? You don't want to think that. Just have love for it first, right? And then, us as parents, we want to support the safety net. We're the support group, right, for them. And, we just want them to drive, and we want them to focus on their long-term growth, because what you're teaching the kids to be resilient. You're teaching them to say, "Hey, if you're getting knocked down, get up. If you're not succeeding here, keep trying, keep getting better. Look at this." And it's our job as parents to support them, as to get them up, to lift them up, right? And that's all we could do. But don't put our demons on the kids. Don't put our anger and irritation at the club, at the coaches, on the kids. We just got to do this for the kids. Can't tell you how many times I've seen people fight, and it's embarrassing, parents, because of what's happening on the field between kids, and parents go at them like, "Wow, I'm embarrassed for you. Like,
Right.
what's going on here?" I'm like, and I've seen that, man. And like I said, those, whatever it is, consider as living through your kids, supporting them. There's no reason to have to fight. It's like, come on,
Right.
man. It's crazy, man. But anyway, thanks for sharing, the insight from your perspective and ours, and the folks listening in, guys, continue to subscribe, follow us, give us a comments. If there's other topics here that you want to talk about, like I said, we've got a lot of great people on the team around the world that would love to go share our experiences and love. And thank you again, Ray, for coming on. Appreciate it. Okay, guys. Bye.